Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this week's Blues Reaction. This week we've got none other than Hootie Ledbetter. You probably know him as Leadbelly. Yep, Leadbelly, born in 1888, maybe 1889. There's a little bit of a discrepancy there with some of the census data and some other records. The date on his tombstone. So whether it's January 20th, January 23rd of either 88, 89, there's a little bit of a discrepancy. I'll let you go out and do your own research and figure out which one. But bottom line, it was 88 or 89, depending on which conspiracy theorist you want to follow. So this week, as we get into Leadbelly, I want to bring in the best part of my life, and that's my beautiful bride on this Valentine's Day. It's Miss Kelly Lou, as I call her. Her name's Kelly, but we call her Kelly Lou because it's kind of a blues channel, and that Lou is a Southern thing. So say hi to the good people, Kelly.
Hi, good people. Happy Valentine's Day.
All right, so yeah, Leadbelly. Like I said, he's one of those guys who's a little larger than life in some regards. I mean, Christ, he calls himself the king of the 12-string guitar. The king of the 12-string guitar. That's a name he gave himself. So you got to have a little bit of swagger if you're going to give yourself a name like that. You know what I mean? It'd be like Elvis coining himself the king. That might have happened. I digress. So, he was discovered by this cat named John Lomax, who came down and saw him playing and heard him playing down in a penitentiary, and kind of discovered him and did some recordings for the Library of Congress. And then once he was released from prison, which I will add, he sang to the governor and the warden to get his release from prison. And they had heard these recordings that John Lomax had done with his son Alan, and Leadbelly was given a parole to get out early. And back then, you weren't paroled, but he got out early because he sang for his release, and then went with Lomax up to New York City. But he always considered Louisiana, where he was born, considered that his home, as well as Texas. And he played in the red light districts and in a lot of the juke joints and slop shoots all throughout Louisiana and Texas. And then again, when Lomax took him up to New York, he played up there. And so with that 12-string guitar, he really tried to create that brothel piano full sound as much as he could. But he played guitar and he played harmonica. He played windjammer, accordion. He played violin and he played mandolin, and a host of other things. Stomped his feet, clapped his hands, created kind of his own one-man band type sound. And back then, they had to do that. So, like I said, now I touched on the fact he was in prison, and he was in and out of prison several times throughout his life. Sometimes he escaped, sometimes he was let go, sometimes he served out his term, but he always played. And there's actually a few videos, not really live per se, but some footage of him singing in prison you can find out there on the YouTubes. Anyway, so very interesting character. I mean, Kelly, you've heard me telling us stories about him as I kind of did a little research here. What would you say?
Well, he's a bit of a scoundrel, which I kind of like.
Scoundrel's a good way to put it, for sure. Good way to put it. I think, a lot of these blues guys, it's not just the blues guys. I mean, our country is riddled with stories of people being persecuted and things of that nature. We can't fix that, but we can pay homage. We can give a little understanding. We can appreciate the art that this man, Hootie Leadbelly, we can appreciate the art that he shared with us and has left for us. So we're not going to get into a big political debate or discussion on this channel. We're going to celebrate, and we're going to love on the fact that we've got some great music that so many people have drawn inspiration from. I mean, this guy recorded over 100 songs with Lomax, not to mention all the other stuff that he recorded. Hell, the one we're going to check out today, Goodnight Irene, it's been covered over 200 times by artists up until 10, 15 years ago. So when you talk about people that have inspired writers, and inspired future generations, this name's got to be in there. You know, we talked about things that we want to do on this channel, and that's pay tribute and homage. This guy has got to be in that conversation. As I was doing my research, I found out that Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, and we're Northwest folks, represent Rainier Beer. We live up here in the Northwest. Big Pearl Jam fans, have been. But Mike McCready, the guitar player from Pearl Jam, drew a ton of inspiration, and his favorite guitarist was none other than Leadbelly. So their song, in fact, Yellow Ledbetter, was a shout out back to, had some themes that he had heard from Leadbelly, and was a shout out with that Ledbetter back to Hootie Ledbetter. So I thought that was really cool, and it gave me a lot of appreciation for Mike McCready for recognizing what I'm trying to recognize, and what I'm trying to discover is some of that root, some of that foundation, and find those basics that we talk about going back to. So, like I said, this one here we're going to check out is Goodnight Irene. Over 200 people, you can look it up, over 200 people have covered this song over the years. The first version that he did had a couple verses, a couple choruses, 2 choruses, 2 verses, and then up until the last one he recorded in like 48, I think. By that time he had added on like 6 verses and 3 or 4 choruses in there. One more quick shout out, not shout out, but note, I guess. This song, Goodnight Irene, he's credited with writing this song. However, like most of the songs that he recorded, this was kind of a folk type song. It was a traditional type folk song, and no one really kind of knows where the lyrics came from. And there's some evidence that this was around all the way back in the 1870s, which is before Leadbelly was born in 88 or 89. So the beauty of this is, though, like we've talked about on this channel, musicians are always stealing from each other. We're always stealing themes, taking themes, trying to make them our own. And, you know, whether you're trying to cover it exactly or whether you're just taking a concept and tweaking it around, I still appreciate the hell out of what Leadbelly's done with this song, with his career. He may not have written every song that he recorded, and that's okay. Clapton didn't. So, for what it's worth. Also, last shout out before we get into this song, Senor, I think I'm saying it right, Apocalypsis. You're the one that suggested this. This got the #1 vote in our Discord server. So, Senor, I appreciate the links. I appreciate you sharing the info, and definitely turning me on to Leadbelly. So without further ado, let's get right into Goodnight Irene by the great Leadbelly.
Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I get you in my dream. Sometimes I live in the country,
Well, what'd you think of that?
It's definitely a period piece. I kind of like it because my grandma's name is Irene, and I can totally see my grandpa singing it to her. And you talked about you weren't sure where some of these songs came from or when they were originally written. I think back in that day, because it is such a period piece, he probably heard his grandma singing it or his grandpa singing it. It's been passed down. And that's where a lot of these songs came from.
I agree. And matter of fact, you talk about hearing his grandpa or grandma singing it. And the article that I was reading about where that song came from, his dad called him out and said that Hootie Leadbelly had heard his dad, Mr. Ledbetter, singing it, and ain't no way that boy wrote that song. So, like I said, we're all stealing stuff from everybody. I've stolen stuff from my dad.
Somewhere.
Actually, my brother steals stuff from my dad. I always give it back. But now, you're right. I can totally see somebody singing that to their significant other, a grandpa to a grandma type thing.
Passed down.
For sure. And that's how a lot of the stuff was passed down. I mean, we didn't have the interwebs back then, right?
Right.
So, this song, though, I think he's talking about a forbidden love. He's talking about, I'll see you in my dreams. And sometimes, I want to live in the country, but I live in town. Go back to your family. Some of those themes in there. So I think it's kind of a forbidden love that he's probably not supposed to. And, I'll see you and I'll get you in my dreams. I don't think Grandpa meant to sing that to Grandma, but that's the beauty of music, is you have some lyrics that you may not understand the hidden meaning behind it, or the maybe not even the dark meaning, if there is one. Maybe not this song, but
it's a very charming, enchanting song.
It is. Well, he put it in that 3/4 time, and you hear that waltz, and I mean back then, they didn't have karaoke, and they didn't have a DJ, and that's part of the reason he played that 12 string and played harmonica. Now this song he wasn't playing harmonica, because you can't sing and play at the same time, obviously, but back then, these guys, they had to entertain by themselves. And that's why you hear a lot of that percussive beat, and that's why they'd stomp their feet and smack their guitar and do all those things to simulate and get that sound and get that rhythm going. And that's why you play that 12-string guitar, is to get that fuller sound, like that big barrel, the big piano.
The ladies loved it.
I'm sure they did, but they could also dance to that. Right. And that 3/4 time, it's not very common anymore. Maybe in country music you still hear it a bit. A lot of stuff's gone to 6/8, weird, but that 3/4 time, I mean, that's an old folky, old country mountain kind of, that waltz. I mean, that's where it came from. That waltz. Sometimes I think he played this in a 6/4 as well in some of his later recordings that I read about. But this one here is clearly in a 3/4. It's just that boom, chop, chop, boom, chop, chop. And he lays that beat down all the way through it. Beautiful lyrics. Like we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, the complexity in the simplicity. And, just singing a great song. Maybe has a little different meaning for him than it would for the average listener. And that's okay. I think that's part of the cool part about it. So, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was good. I can certainly see how somebody that's singing, a lot of traditional songs, recording a ton of traditional songs, putting his own twist on it, almost like a La Bamba, if you will. And nobody liked the fact that he took an old Hispanic, old Mexican, old Mexican traditional song and spun it, but he did. And it turned out great. I mean, everybody was loved by tons of people except the purists and the traditionalists. So, I don't know. I think, take a guy like Leadbelly here, playing some old Negro spirituals and some of these old traditional songs, putting his own little bit of twist on it, maybe his own experiences into the lyrics and interjecting it here. I mean, I don't do that much, do I? No, not at all. But I think that's cool, and I can certainly see where people would draw a lot of inspiration from somebody that does that. And then the fact that he was a little bit of a scoundrel, I think that's pretty cool too.
Adds to the mystique.
Like I said, I'm not here to judge. We're here to listen and appreciate. Appreciate you guys being here. I think I speak for the both of us where I say, let us know what the next Leadbelly song we should check out is. Let us know who the next blues artist we should check out is. Like I said, Senor recommended this one to me in the Discord server. We put it up for a vote, and this one narrowly, by one vote, narrowly beat out Blind Willie McTell. So I'm still looking forward to that Blind Willie McTell song, and we're certainly going to check him out. But let me know what else you want to hear, and let me know what you thought of this one. Let me know what you thought of that 3/4 time. Let me know what you thought of that old 12-string, $5 Sears and Roebuck Stella guitar tuned down a step, which they did, by the way, because back then they didn't have a truss rod in the neck. So to keep that damn neck from warping, they tuned it down about a half step to a whole step. So let me know what you thought about that. And find me on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, obviously here on the YouTube and on the Discord server. We'll certainly look for you there. If you need the link to that Discord server, drop me a message on the socials. We'll get it to you. And if you made it this far, you're one of the good ones. We appreciate you. While you're here, don't forget, subscribe, like, share. If you like this content and you think someone else might, and comment. Let us know. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me. Appreciate it. Hope it wasn't too bad.
Loved it.
We'll see you guys somewhere on down the road.